name's Harvey Edgington. I'm Head of Film and Locations at the National Trust, which basically means I deal with all film inquiries, including still photography, that isn't news. So in terms of range, that's everything from Flog It up to The Dark Knight and Batman. Wolfhall got in touch with us about November 2013 to say that they were filming the books. I'd read the books, which was useful. And that they were looking for as many locations as they possibly could to shoot for real, as opposed to being in the studio. So their first task was to find enough concentration of buildings of the right period in the right region that were film friendly, and also the buildings hadn't been changed too much since that period, because you can find Tudor, but of course the Victorians, the Edwardians, etc. have generally added on and gutted and home improved and all the rest of it. So we started that search with them. Interesting, the location manager had just done New Worlds, which we'd also been heavily involved with. So we kind of knew eventually that they would end up in the southwest. But we did look at other regions, but given that they needed 6 of our locations in the end, we always knew that eventually they were going to end up in the southwest region. Horton, which isn't open to the public, I think we used for Cromwell's childhood home. The Barrington Court was used. Montacute was used. Montacute was also used exterior-wise for the jousting scene, which is a very important part of the story. Chastleton House was used. All of these properties are beautifully preserved, and in the case of Montacute and Barrington, they both have large rooms that would replicate royal residences and stuff. So there was a lot of scope there for the design to come in and do what they needed to do. We also used Great Chalfield and Lagock Abbey. Both of those have been used before for similar sort of things, Other Boleyn Girl, etc., Harry Potter. So we kind of know the score with them. But for the other properties, they haven't been as filmed in as much, and I think the designer just thought there's a huge canvas here for me to play with. The properties obviously have to make a decision that if they are going to close, then we have to be recompensed for the loss of income. But the other issue, of course, is the conservation issue. We have to make sure that the properties are exactly the same when they leave as they were when they arrived. So over the years we've developed various processes and procedures for protection, floor protection, a procedure for candles, because obviously candles are hugely important in Wolfhall. They wanted to light it as naturally as possible, and obviously candles can make you a bit nervous. So we have safety procedures in place. Sometimes a crew will come to us and say, this is what we want to do, and we'll say, well, that might be how you do it in the studio, but this is how we need you to achieve it. Directors and particularly designers are drawn towards National Trust properties because they are real. I mean, yes, you could build it in a studio, but I think as a viewer you can tell, and I think you can also tell when it's not actually the country where the production is supposed to be. So there is a reality, there's certainly an atmosphere. I think when we were at Montacute, and they had a big scene that was pretty much lit by candles, you really did get a sense of what it might have been like to be living in those times. We work as closely as we can with Creative England. We have all of our properties on their library. We don't use any commercial libraries because Creative England is free to use for us, but also free to use for a filmmaker. Their job is to go around and get productions into this country. Our job is to service them when they get here. If you're going to register your property on the library, my advice would be think of everything. I'd advise that you send in photographs of any nook and cranny that you are prepared to have a film crew in. But at the same time, you need to be realistic. You should be totally honest with your entry into the library. If there are certain days that are impossible to do, then you should flag that up as soon as possible. We try to educate the film industry using Creative England that we're not just about frocks and bonnets. We own 500,000 acres of farms, we own 600 miles of coast, we own numerous mountains. So basically it's a change of perception. And we hope that the message goes far and wide, because we can't afford to go out to LA and places like that, but we hope the message goes far and wide that the Trust is film friendly, and we're ready when you are ready.